good friend of the show, joining us once again via the magic Skype. There he is. You know, since he's become this TV star, radio star, it's very hard to get a few minutes of Michael Bisping's time, but he has carved out some of it for us here. Michael, how are you?
I am very well, sir, and always got time for the MMA hour. You know this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Before we get to your business, my friend, I want to actually get your take on the backlash that Ronda has received. I mean, to a degree, it reminds me somewhat of, you know, what happened to you with Dan Henderson. Everyone just shoving it in your face, and that was a different time, social media-wise, right? She has received some vitriol, as I put it earlier. What do you make of it? Because I think also it speaks to how popular she was and how she was able to build herself into a star where people actually care whether she wins or loses. So a lot of credit to her, but it's not a good look.
Sure. Well, I mean, I keep losing you a little bit. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Ronda is such a big star, such a breakout star, and a crossover star. You know, there's people talking about this that don't necessarily follow MMA. For example, I went into the gym last week to lift weights, and the gym manager and, you know, some old timers that I see in there, you know, just doing their Monday morning workout were coming up to me and saying, "Wow, did you see that at the weekend?" And these are people that don't necessarily follow MMA. So there was a lot more eyes on this than typically, you know, your average knockout in the UFC. And as I say, I think that speaks to the level of stardom that she has. Of course, you know, I mean, I hate to use that expression, haters are going to hate, but,
Right.
you know, that's what people like to do. They like to build people up, and then when they get to a certain level, they like to knock them back down again. You're right, there is some comparisons in terms of the Dan Henderson thing, you know. I got knocked out, and a lot of people said I was never going to come back from that. And they said I was finished. Joe Rogan in particular said that. He said, you know, you can never come back from a knockout like that. And of course I did. And I think Ronda's going through the same thing right now. A lot of people saying that she's done. Saturday night, I was working on Fox Sports 1 with Rashad Evans, and Rashad was saying, that's it, she'll never return from that. She'll disappear into movies. And I think that's ridiculous. You know, I think any person, any competitor that has managed to rise to the top like she did, and any competitor that has that natural competitive streak, you know, she competed at the Olympics, became world champion. To suggest that she's not going to try and return from that and, you know, get revenge for that loss and try and get a belt back, I think that's crazy.
That said, are you disappointed with the way she's handling the loss? Oh, are we hearing a feedback here? Do you hear me? Okay, it's gone. Are you disappointed with the way she's handling the loss? Like, even when she put out a small statement, she didn't congratulate Holly. She hasn't done any interviews. When she was walking out of the airport, she was covering her face. Would you have done it differently?
I don't know if I would have done it differently. I think, actually, to be honest, she did the right thing at the airport by covering her face, because the photographers, they want that picture, you know, of her face busted up. And that would have then followed her for the rest of her life. Anytime there was any kind of confrontation on social media or anything, they would have, you know, used those pictures, put some, you know, some funny writing at the top and bottom of it. I believe they call it a meme. I'm not down with the kids, so I'm not sure. But a meme, I think, is the terminology. And that would have followed her. Now, of course, they've got that anyway. They've got that in the octagon, you know, when she got beat. But, you know, why give them more fuel? You know, those pictures were never going to be complimentary. They were always going to be pictures to show what Holly did to her. Now, of course, that hurts her pride. You know, she's a proud competitor, a fierce competitor. You know, you don't want to give them more fuel. And yeah, she's been quiet, but most fighters are typically quiet after a loss. And certainly somebody that's built, you know, gone so high and then the drop, you know, you go so high and then you fall so high as well, or so deep. So of course she's going to go away. She's going to lick her wounds, disappear for a little while, and then slowly you start to creep out. That's the way I've done it. You know, you go into the fight, you're full of confidence, you know, you talk a little smack, whatever it is, and then, you know, I've lost here and there, of course, and you are a little, you know, you're depressed, you're pissed off, you're angry. But for me, I've always wanted to get back in there. So you let the dust settle a little bit, and then you slowly start making a presence on social media again. But yeah, it's only a matter of time before we see her come back.
Last thing on this, if I'm Holly, I want that rematch right away because you may got her, you may have her where you want her, and you want to capitalize on it. And there's only so much you can change in a few months. If you're Ronda, do you want if you Michael Bisping are Ronda Rousey right now, do you want that rematch right away, or do you want a few other fights to build yourself back up?
Well, if I am Michael Bisping or I am Ronda Rousey, the fighter inside you wants to get back in there right away because we believe that we can do it differently. We believe that we made a mistake, whether it be in game planning or in preparation. We think, our egos say we know we can do it next time. If I'm a coach or a manager, I would say, listen, take some time, work on some things, let, you know, let you get over that mentally, 100% mentally, so you're not getting in there and fighting on emotion. You got to get over that. There's going to be a lot of emotions that she has to deal with. Work on some things, potentially have some other fights, but I don't think there's any need for that. She's beaten everybody else in the women's division, in the bantamweight division. There's no need to fight anybody else. I think the immediate rematch is what everybody wants to see. She went in there with plan A. She didn't have a plan B. Plan A in the past has always worked. She's always been able to dominate her opponents, take them down, and armbar them. Yes, we've seen a couple of TKOs, but predominantly that's what she likes to do: take them down. It didn't work this time. Somebody had a masterful game plan to counter that. What she needs to work on is plan B. I would have liked to have seen plan B could have been, listen, don't chase her. In round two, plant your feet in the center of the octagon and make Holly come to her. That would have made the fight very different. If Holly had to go to Ronda, Ronda could have slipped the punches, got the clinch, and then maybe take it down. Who knows? But that certainly would have been something she could have tried. So, she'll go away, she'll lick her wounds, she'll talk to her coaches, her manager, and they'll come back, and the rematch will be even bigger.
Of course, you were supposed to fight on that card. You had to withdraw due to an elbow injury. What was it like for you to watch? It's funny. I was talking to someone. I was in Melbourne, and the crowd was a disappointing crowd from a, from an energy perspective. It was just very quiet. And I think it's because the seats were too far away. It was early in the morning, but I was like, this card needs a Michael Bisping. Like up until the Mark Hunt fight, they just weren't into it. And I think you versus Whitaker would have helped get the crowd excited. For you watching it, what was that like? Were you like, man, look at that crowd, I wish I could be there? Or, were you over it at that point?
I was kind of over it. Well, I thought I was until I watched it on the night. And of course, it was bittersweet. I was watching it, the great fights. But sitting there and seeing, the size of the arena and how big it was, of course, I wanted to be in there. So it's, I should have been in the octagon, not sat on a couch with a bottle of nice, delicious cold beer in my hands. I should have been in the octagon. And of course, I wanted to be there. But these things happen, but you're right. There was kind of a level of energy missing, and I always try and provide that, and I'll certainly do that in my next fight. But injuries are part of the game.
Before the injury, could Michael Bisping, who's coming off that win over Talis Ladies, have beaten the Robert Whitaker who showed up that night?
Listen, Robert is a nice guy. I've met him a couple of times. You're laughing because you know there's a but coming. There is a but on its way for sure. He's a nice guy. I want to clarify that. I've spent some time with him. Nothing against him. Great young prospect. Good kid. He's got some skills. But come on. I watched that fight, and I'll tell you why I was devastated for having to pull out of that fight. Because for once, I could have gone in there. I was going to get my first ever submission victory inside the UFC. I was going to take him down. I was going to play with him. I would have been a middleweight with a size advantage for once. Mm-hmm. I used to fight at 205. I came down to middleweight thinking I was going to be the big guy. And, how wrong was I? I mean, my last few fights, Talis Laitis is huge at 185. Dollaway is huge. Luke Rockhold before that. These are all monsters at 185. Robert Whitaker, I would have had the size advantage, and I was excited about that. It was an opportunity to bully somebody a little bit, but I'd have beaten both of those guys. Uriah and Robert, it was okay, but come on. Let's get real here, Ariel. They're not on my level, buddy. Come on, we know this.
I'm happy to hear you say that. How is the elbow? How's your health right now?
Yeah, no, it's good. I just came from the gym right now. Lifting weights, and for the first time ever today, I was able to do some shoulder press on my left side. I've been trying that week by week, and even on a lightweight, I couldn't do it. This morning, I was able to, not very heavy, but even still, I was able to do that. Progress is being made. I'm rolling in the gym. I'm doing jiu-jitsu. I hit pads for the first time last week. I did 5 rounds on the pads, and it was okay. It was okay. I mean, it's still, I mean, you can see here, it's almost straight. A few weeks ago, it was around there. The range of motion that hurts a little bit there. Doesn't quite straighten out, but it's not far. The Orange OC Fight Docs, I've got to give them a shout. Dr. Kessler here in Orange County, they're doing a fantastic job with my rehab. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
So as you mentioned, you worked on the Fox desk this past weekend. Great stuff as always. I'm not just saying it because you are here. I really truly love listening to your analysis and insight when you're doing your TV work. But how about this new wrinkle? Now you're a radio host as well. I always knew that you love the media, but I mean, come on, you have to take our jobs now too. You're taking TV jobs. You're taking radio jobs. This is very exciting, though. I must.
Want to be you, Ariel. I want to be you.
It seems like you're going down that path, and I respect you for it. How did this come about?
So, I mean, I've been doing more and more work for Fox, which is fantastic. Those guys there really made me feel welcome and really helped me. They give me a lot of good feedback and how to get better and better. So I thank everybody over at Fox. I've never been one to shy away from things to say. And it was through a friend of mine, actually. We got talking about the possible. Listen, everybody does a podcast.
Yeah.
Everybody has a podcast. Everyone. You name it. If they can open their mouth and string a sentence together, they're talking and trying to fucking sell something. And an idea of a podcast was pitched to me. And I didn't want to, because everybody, I mean, I kind of wanted to, but I didn't want to be that guy jumping on the podcast bandwagon. So then eventually Sirius came to me and they kind of, showed some interest, Sirius XM. And they've got a new fight channel now, Sirius XM Rush 93. A lot of good content on there, talking about fights, MMA, boxing, and some lifestyle things as well. And we did a test show. It went very well. I got a co-host, Luis J. Gomez, who's a stand-up comedian in New York and knows a lot about MMA as well. So we did a test show. It went very well, and here we are. We had the initial show last week. No show this week because Thursday's Thanksgiving, but every week from 1 till 3. So what is that? 4 to 6. No, sorry, 3 to 5. So 6 to 8 Eastern. Sirius XM Rush 93. Check it out.
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday, yes.
Okay, so you got the first show out of the way. Give us your honest critique. How did you do?
It was okay. I felt like the test show was better.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, the test show was better. The first show, yeah, it was good. I thought so. It was okay. Could have been better, of course. I mean, after everything I do, whether it's a fight, whether it's on, work on Fox, whether it was the test show, whatever it is, I'm always hypercritical. I always want to do better. And to be honest, it was just talk about Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm because that's what everybody wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And so we did that. We spent the adequate time on that. But I'm a little bit bored about talking about Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm, to be quite frank. No disrespect to either women, but there's a whole world and there's a lot of things going on out there that I'd rather talk about. So but please, everybody, tune in. Sirius XM Rush 93. The Countdown with Michael Bisping and Luis J. Gomez.
Yes. Now it's not only MMA.
No, it's not. Of course, you
only
have to spend
a
couple of minutes of my time to realize that I am a world of knowledge on politics and social current issues. I'm always talking about these types of things. Real hard-hitting, factual radio is what we're talking about here, Ariel.
So this is going to be like the Buffer show where you're giving us like relationship advice and sex tips and things like that?
Is that what Buffer does on his?
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've never had the pleasure.
Oh, well, you're missing out.
But I will check it out for sure.
Are you doing that sort of thing? Can I call you up and say,
BB.
My girlfriend cheated on me? Is it that sort of thing?
Oh, no. We take callers on the show as well. So people listening, feel free to call in. We'll sit down, we'll plan it out week by week. What's big, what's worth talking about. Okay. So it all depends what's in the news that week.
In all honesty, though, when you started this journey, did you ever even think that this stuff would be available at the end of the tunnel, and you're not even at the end of the tunnel. But the fact that you're making this extra income, it's got to be an incredible, an incredible gift that I would imagine came out of nowhere for you.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic because one thing that always worried me as a fighter, and it still does now, the world is littered with fantastic fighters that, did really well. And then afterwards, the sport spits them out and they're broke, and they have nothing. And, the going is good now. But I'm still a young man. I'm 36, I've got 3 children that I want to provide for, and I want to keep them in the lifestyle that they've become accustomed to. And as I said, any gym all over the world is littered with old fighters that didn't invest the money, that didn't make enough money. There's no pension plan for a fighter. There's no retirement plan. So, whilst I'm still very much focused on being a fighter, of course I am, and that's my primary focus. I'm just, trying to exercise all these possible opportunities that I have in the sideline so that when the time comes to walk away, I have a career and things are going well with Fox. I do some things for the UFC, radio now. I do a little bit of acting, a little bit of action stuff. So with all these things, I'm opening the gym with the UFC gym franchise people as well.
Oh, wow.
So all these little things, hopefully will equate to a living. But of course, I'm still 100% focused on my fighting right now.
A true renaissance man. So let's talk about that fighting. You've made it clear that you want to fight in London in February. What can you tell us? Who are you fighting? It came out yesterday that there's a report out of Brazil, Globo, that Anderson's going to fight Vitor. I know you were interested in Anderson. What can you tell us about your next fight?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I did hear some rumors, some whispers, and of course, Anderson himself did mention that he was fighting me, apparently, which was news to me. That was something that I wanted. Initially, I know I said I didn't want to fight anybody with a history of PEDs. But then I thought about it. I thought, well, listen, Anderson's a huge name. And, of course, as I say, I'm still fighting, but I am 36. So I want to have the biggest fights possible. And that was a fight that I was interested in. But, of course, as you mentioned, he's fighting Vitor now. So that obviously is not happening. I want to fight in London. It's been 5 years, 6 years almost since I fought there. So, yeah, for sure, I want to fight there. And whoever the UFC give me, I know a lot of the good guys are tied up right now. And I thought possibly they might give me Robert Whittaker because he just won, But I don't think that's the way they're going. In fact, I know that well which way they're going. I know who the opponent is, but I can't say.
Always the company man.
Listen, I've got to be professional. I've got to respect my obligations to the UFC.
Sure.
And, when the time comes, you will know.
I was going to throw out a guess, but then that kind of puts you in an awkward spot.
Away.
Can I guess?
Let's play.
Okay, but if I'm right, will you tell me I'm right?
Can we have some kind of theme tune, some like quiz show music in the background?
You know what? They might have that kind of operation over there at Sirius, but we don't have that kind of budget here on the MMA Hour. Okay, these are my 2 guesses, all right?
All right, go ahead.
Lyoto Machida, Gegard Mousasi.
Read into that smile and laugh, whatever you will. Could have hit the nail on the head. You may have guessed, but also you may have not.
Okay, you won't.
It is a top 10 opponent. There you go. That's as much as I'm willing to say.
Are you main event?
It's a top 10.
Are you main event? Are you main event?
I am not sure yet.
Okay.
Apparently, this card that they're trying to have 3 really big fights on. I would love to be the main event. Of course, it all depends who else is on the card.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll look out for that. One last thing before I let you go. It's a big weekend coming up for the middleweights in December. You got Chris Weidman going up against, obviously, Luke Rockhold and Jacare versus Yoel. Can you give us your predictions for those 2 fights?
Absolutely. I think in the co-main event, we're going to see a new world champion. I respect Chris, even though we've been back and forth on social media a little bit. Chris is a great guy. He's a great fighter. He's been a great champion. I just think Rockhold is going to be too fast and too slick on the feet. In the wrestling department, I believe Luke, training with DC and Cain Velasquez, I think he's going to be prepared to stop the takedowns. And I think on the floor, Chris is probably better on the floor, but I think Luke is good enough to completely negate anything that Chris can offer in that department. And I think on the feet, I think Luke has the advantage. I think he's longer. Well, he is longer.
Hmm.
He has the range. He has a more diverse striking game, and he's faster. And I think speed is key. Chris does have an advantage in the fact that Anderson Silva was a southpaw. The rematch was Anderson Silva. That's a southpaw. Vitor was a southpaw. Machida was a southpaw. So he's got a lot of experience fighting southpaws. Of course, when orthodox fighters like myself fight a southpaw, that can be tricky and it throws them off. So he won't. So Luke won't have that advantage. Chris is used. He's the last few years of his life, he's been fighting southpaws. So, you know, that will be advantageous for Chris. But I still believe the fight will predominantly play out on the feet, and Luke has the advantage there. So I think Luke gets it done.
What about Jacare Romero?
Jacare Romero, Jacare wins that fight. Whilst Romero looks great, you know, he does have a limited game, but still the power that he has and the wrestling advantage allows him to dominate a lot of opponents. Certainly with the wrestling, he takes people down, you know, almost at will. He's incredibly powerful, and of course, you know, he's incredibly skillful. You don't really want to take Jacare down to the floor. You know, that's never the smartest game plan. Certainly for Yoel Romero, who being a wrestler doesn't have the jiu-jitsu credentials. They are two very different sports. Even though there is a lot of clinching and grappling on the floor, they're very different sports. If he takes Jacare down, he may find himself getting submitted on the feet. I think he's still learning. He's very, very powerful, but I think Jacare has the skills to dominate in all areas, to be honest. So I think my money would be on Jacare to win that fight.
Michael, a pleasure as always, my friend. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
On the new show. It's Sirius XM 93 every Thursday. It's from, if I got this right, 3 p.m. Pacific to 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 6 to 8 here on the East Coast, right?
That is correct.
I wonder if I can hear it. I was traveling that day. Is there an on-demand component? Can I go back into my app?
I believe there is. You can download an app.
Yeah, I have it.
Of course, you've got to be a subscriber to Sirius. So I believe there will be an on-demand. If there isn't yet, there will be shortly. And no, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. You know, of course, satellite radio, we can get a little
Cheeky.
looser lipped, shall we say, than what we can on Fox for obvious reasons. You know, and our opinions can run wild. So tune in, don't miss it. And thank you for the opportunity to talk to you as always, Ariel.
Yes, my pleasure. Congratulations. We'll talk to you soon.
My inspiration, my everything.
Finally.
Ariel,
finally, you speak the truth. It's about time. It took long enough. Thank you very much, Mike.
My pleasure. Take care.
Michael Bisping stopping by from Orange County. Check out the show. I did not get a chance to check it out yet because I was traveling, and we will talk about that a little later on. But man, he is great. He is great at what he does, and I don't just say that because I work for Fox and I work with him at times, although we sometimes cross paths, not always. I really enjoy his insight. Very, very comfortable on the microphone, and if you get him in that sort of radio setting, I would imagine he'd be even better. So good job on Sirius's part for putting Michael in there. So he says a top 10 opponent. We could figure this out. And honestly, my real guess, look, let's figure it out. My real guess is, here we go. Okay, Weidman, Rockhold, they have fights. Jacare, Romero, they have fights. Vitor, we're assuming, even though I was told by a source, by the way, that fight isn't official, but they have fights. Vitor and Anderson, who isn't on the rankings right now. Now we have Machida, Kennedy. We'll skip them for a second. Bisping, Mousasi. Skip them for a second. Whitaker, who he says it's not him. And Taslatis, who he just fought. So really, in my opinion, it's Kennedy, Machida, Mousasi. I'm going to guess they go Kennedy, Machida. I'm going to guess they go Mousasi, Bisping. I mean, it's simple math. We'll find out.